Managing a small team or business comes with a unique set of challenges. With limited resources and manpower, it's easy for things to feel chaotic and out of your control. How can you, as a leader, accomplish your goals while keeping your team engaged, effective, and accountable? This podcast will give you practical strategies you can implement now to lead your team or business to reach its fullest potential. Welcome to the Organizing Chaos podcast with your host, Danny Coleman.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Organizing Chaos, where we talk about small, practical strategies for small teams and small businesses. Today, I have Mr. Gabe McCauley on the show today. He is here to speak to us about all of the wisdom that he has gathered over the last couple of years running his business, a film production company. Correct? Is that the correct term?
That is correct.
Little Dragon.
Yep.
And I understand that you might be in the middle of a potential name change right now?
I've been in a potential name change for 2 going on 3 years. So
Okay, and that's okay for me to talk about?
Sure.
Okay, cool. All right.
Maybe someone will give us a good idea out there.
You don't have any good ideas?
Good ideas are relative.
It's true.
Yeah. So I've had several ideas. None of them have stuck yet.
So for now, we'll call it Little Dragon.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got into film.
That's a great question, Danny. Thank you for having me on
Certainly. Thank you for
the
being
show
here.
today. I think like a lot of kids, well, actually I grew up with a passion for theater and just making a fool of myself, getting attention. So I enjoyed doing that. And with the advent of the VHS and a home video camera, I was able to start making backyard movies and stuff like that. And that just sort of became a hobby and a fun thing to do.
How old were you when you started figuring this out?
Like middle school, high school. So teenage years, latter teenage years. And really I ended up behind the camera just because none of my friends could hold the camera steady enough, and so it was not even necessarily a choice to begin with, because I wanted to be acting. I wanted to be on the other side. But so I just started learning, tinkering, that kind of thing. Bought one of those little tape-to-tape like Signa editors or whatever, where I could run my camera and my VHS, my VCR, and like make little dissolves and star wipes, and so I could start editing.
Like on the film itself?
Yeah, like on the tape. So that's how you used to have to do it, man.
Wow, man.
So not actually splicing film, but,
Right.
but taking either 2 VCRs or your camera in playback mode and your VCR, and like that's how you could like play something and stop it, and then cut or interject something in, put another tape in.
Okay, yeah.
And then hit record again over here. But
I would
then
do
you
that
can
with
add
cassette
effects.
tapes,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
on like with music.
Yeah.
Because when you're making mixtapes. So.
Right. Same deal.
Well, we sound like dinosaurs even talking about that at this point.
I know. So I started fooling around with that, and then through college, still was doing a bit of theater, but ended up deciding that I wanted to get a degree in film and TV and stuff like that, mainly because I thought it was a better, more secure route than theater or acting, and I kind of felt like, well, I enjoy doing that, but I'm kind of already naturally doing it. Not that I was great, but like I can just kind of fall into that if it happens, versus this other thing was a lot of technical learning that I felt like I needed to gain from something, which I'm not really sure that college
Did you like keep on acting like alongside of while you were doing
a little bit, but it actually kind of eventually started just taking a back seat.
Okay.
So I'm actually starting to get back into acting more now than I have in 10 years. So,
was it like when you stopped acting, or I guess when you kind of scaled back on the acting more into the other side, what was it kind of like? Were you passionate about, I guess, getting into the new stuff, or were you kind of just felt like this is the way for me to get in?
No, I was definitely passionate about it. I mean, there's certainly what I found eventually was I could be equally fulfilled in working with actors and like directing as I was potentially acting as well. And then there was all the nuances of it beyond just acting too, just like the cinematography and the collaborative process, all those things that I started to really love.
So when did Little Dragon start?
Little Dragon started around 2002-ish.
Okay.
So I was still in college, finishing up, and really it was just me. But I decided I needed to be more than myself. So I started a company, which predominantly was doing like wedding videos and live events and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And little by little, with the goal of someday I'd be making movies.
So when did it become more than just you? Was it 2002, you said? Or?
When did it? Yeah. So along the way, I would hire a fair amount of freelancers depending upon the job. And then around 2006, nope, 10, 11. I don't do numbers, Danny. Okay. So I don't know.
Like I don't do math on the show either. Yeah.
2000, around 2010 or 11, I guess it was. I merged with my current business partner.
Okay.
And then we have 2 full-time employees, and then again a handful of freelance or permalancers, as we call them. So people will come on for sort of more extended. So
what do you guys do now primarily? You said you started out doing like weddings and live events. You guys still do a lot of that, or was it?
No, we try not to do any of that, if possible.
You guys have done a few creative things now, right? Like more like movie type things now?
So probably about half of what we do is TV and film related, and the other half is still branded content, marketing, corporate, industrial, things of that nature.
Gotcha.
And so,
what do you enjoy the most?
Filmmaking. Yeah. If I could not be doing any of those other things, that's what I would be doing.
Just that creative film.
Yeah. If I could wake up every day and be working on a feature film, like a narrative feature film, that's what I'd do.
So Little Dragon, you kind of see then that as it's like it evolves with you as kind of towards that goal, or how do you see it, I guess, or where you want to take it ultimately? As far as where you're at right now.
Yeah, Danny, these are great questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe you can counsel me through this.
Sure, yeah. Let's do it right here, live on the spot.
I'm going to take you back a little bit. So I first, even though all along my passion has been filmmaking, that's what I want to do. I figured, well, I can either get a job at UPS like I had at the time, and I could do that to make my money, and then like come home and spend my creative energy and outlet like into creating films, or I could start some kind of video film related company, even if it's not working on films, and do that for a living, all the while still also trying to do more specifically in that realm what I want to be doing, which is filmmaking.
Right.
And there's kind of blessings and curses to both. That particularly like when it comes to creating a video production business, but you want to be making films, but you're working on wedding videos, it can drain you in a particular way where your creative efforts are towards something by default. I mean, they have to be put toward this wedding video that's not a feature film. So by the time you're done, some of that creative energy has been exhausted now.
Yeah.
Whereas a job like UPS might have been a little bit more manual labor, a little bit more mindless type of stuff.
I see what you're saying.
And so when you get home, like you're energized all day long. You've just been going over like.
It's the difference between like people who have hobbies and then their work versus the people who maybe made what would have been their hobby into their career. Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so the reason I bring that up is I went ahead and decided that would be my route, thinking that, well, at least I can have tax write-offs for buying gear, and and at least I'm still honing my craft in some way, right?
Right, yeah, that's true.
And I feel like I have, and it was very useful and purposeful. But certainly there have been those moments of like burnout where it's like, this isn't what I signed up for,
Right, yeah.
I'm having to do it. I'm still having to exhaust the same parts of me, but towards something that's not ultimately my passion. But little by little, I was able to kind of maneuver my way into like more specifically the things that I was going toward and until now. So the reason I bring all that up is to say I still live in sort of both worlds, you know, hoping that someday, if I could make sense of it, I would have just one company and that's all they do is make films and TV content. But for now, they don't. They do that and other things, which has been difficult.
So then what do you see as holding you back, or what's the gap between where you're at right now and getting to that point where you're doing pretty much exclusively feature-length films?
I mean, it boils down to finances.
Yeah.
So it boils down to figuring out ways to make money or be financed or find investors to do only that. So a lot of the opportunities that I've had in the TV and film world are more like investments, or if they do have money behind them, a lot of times it's because these creative and artistic ventures can be so consuming in all kinds of ways, energy, creativity, time, that even if there is money behind them, by the end of it all, it's not like it's been an extremely profitable or lucrative venture. Instead, now I've been very creatively fulfilled.
Right, yeah.
And so the flip side of that is it's much easier to figure out quick ways to turn a profit on something like a industrial video, for instance, where there's typically less creativity, less time and energy, you know, used to accomplish that. So one of my thought processes has been allow those things to build that side of Little Dragon to then sort of almost fund the other side of Little Dragon to invest in creative projects. Yeah. That's kind of what we're doing. Okay. To some extent. Maybe we're not doing either really well. I'm not sure. But.
Well, it seems to be the closest target for you to hit. My dad would call it the 50-meter target. So rather than, all right, how do I get from here to full-time doing feature-length films, how can you get, you know, what's the first step towards, you know, having your company do enough of the less creative works in order to fund the feature-length stuff? Is it conceivable for you to build a team that just focuses on the less creative stuff, and then have that fund maybe you kind of heading up another part of the business that?
Yeah, I think it is feasible. I mean, that's been part of the rub with trying to figure out a different company name is actually trying to decide whether it needs to just be a whole other separate company or, you know, like a sister company under the same umbrella. Yeah. Which probably makes the most sense because it ends up just sort of making the goals of each company a little more defined and clear versus now they're still a bit muddy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, like, so being someone who's completely unfamiliar with the film and TV industry, that's what from what I can tell. Other conversations, obviously, we've had, not just solely this one. That seems like it might be the best way to do it, because the only thing that I would see is if you didn't do it like that, then you'd have you'd have one company with two goals, and then obviously that's going to end up leading to a lot of confusion and stuff like that. Versus a lot of companies can be two separate companies, but share resources. Yeah. And it takes a little bit of thinking and breaking it down and whatnot, but it's certainly possible. What do you think? Let's just say you can. What if you snapped your fingers and you had two separate companies now? Little Dragon continued to do what it has been doing. Company X starts going towards feature-length films.
That's a good name.
What do you think? Company X?
Yeah.
There you go. Well, genius strikes. Right. You know, right? Yeah. I all day I can do this all day. No, I really can't. I'm terrible at creative naming and stuff like that. Like, I won't get into it. Well, hey, let me know if you decide to run with that.
Okay.
And you don't have to pay me anything.
Okay.
But you can just kind of put by Danny Coleman underneath it everywhere that it appears.
Sure.
Cool. All right. So yeah. So then, what do you think? What's a realistic timeline for maybe something like that to happen? What's something that you think would be possible if you made that decision like tomorrow?
To actually split the company and to sort of start focusing. I think if I could decide on a name, I could probably have it done in a week.
Okay.
I mean, seriously,
pretty good. So then it sounds like you just need to get to a naming convention. I mean, you need to write 5 names in a hat. This is a real high-tech way of doing it. Yeah. 5 names in a hat, or a jar. You can use a jar, or a flower pot if you have a flower pot. Yeah. Any thing that you can put your hand into. Yeah. And I think it's problem solved. So aren't you glad you came today? Yeah. I just solved your problem.
I pretty much can leave now, I think.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about how you've been managing, as you called the perma contractor. Is that what you said? Perma contractor or
permalancer?
Permalancer. That's what you said. I like that word because I've been in the freelance world for a long time now, or I've worked with it for a long time, and it's a growing field. And I feel like looking back at film, they've actually been doing it for longer than most people have because of the nature of the way films are made. Yeah. So you have a guy who serves a certain role, and then he just does that. He's like known in the industry for being really good at that. And so he is a freelancer in that sense, or his own business in that sense. So how has it been managing, getting what you need, the results that you need through other people, especially when they're not necessarily a part of your company?
I'd say there's probably been mixed results, but that's the thing with the film industry. If you can find some good freelancers / permalancers, it's still one of those industries that's fairly specialized. Like if you think of unions, I mean, they're still very heavy in the way that there's a lot of union work. And so these people do one thing, and they typically do that one thing well. And so if you know what you need and you're hiring someone that you've worked with or trust, typically they're not hard to manage because they do this every time, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like typically you're not training, typically you're not having to. So a lot of times it can work out really well, particularly when you can afford maybe like a full-time individual. But if it's more of a project per project basis, you can fill in that specific need well. I'm sure there's been times where we've hired people and it's just been, we've not utilized their strengths, or we've tried to make them perform more than what they're typically used to. Cause we're trying to fill their times. Well, I know you do this, but could you, while you're here, do some of this too?
Right. Yeah.
And we've learned from that. I don't know if that answered your question.
Well, I mean, I guess are there more pros to it than or cons in your opinion?
For us, there's far more pros.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, and honestly, that's kind of what I want to bring to small businesses. A lot of small businesses aren't leveraging freelancers, or they don't think about the fact that there's someone online who can manage all their social media for them, or there's someone else who can write and process all their emails, their email marketing stuff, or do their invoicing, or all kinds of stuff like that. People who you don't even need physically there, or even if they do need to be physically there, you pay them at scale, at the scale that you're at. Right. So you can give that a thumbs up. Maybe anyone who's listening, who's considering the idea of using a freelancer, Gabe McCauley gives it a thumbs up. So.
I do,
and I like it too. I mean, I like being able to know that I'm paying someone who's specialized at this thing. Yeah. Because then they ask me all these questions too that I might not even thought about. I might be like, hey, I want to do this, and they're like, oh, okay. Well, what do you want about this? And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know about that question. I guess yeah. So that makes sense. And then you give them the answer, and they kind of pull out from you what you need in order to kind of give them what they need, to do the best work. So.
And there's definitely times where we've hired, it's been a bit of a process in finding the right one. Mm-hmm. But once you've found the right one or ones, it works out great. But that's why I almost wish there was a resource that you could go to that almost rates, like a Uber for freelancers or whatever, I could see, oh, this person's worked for this person.
Have you ever heard of Upwork?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So there is.
So it's
one,
kind of
huh?
like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Have you been on Upwork?
No.
It's basically like that.
Yeah.
But you check it out. I mean, it might be a little bit different, but I would love to know, by the way, like just like in case Upwork's not what you're talking about,
Yeah.
get back to me because I would love to know more about that because so right now I'll kind of let you in on a little something and I'm letting everyone, I guess, who's listening. Right now I'm working with a buddy of mine and we are really interested in the freelance idea, right? And we realize that a lot of local businesses don't take advantage of that because they just it's too hard for them to learn how to trust someone who's completely not there in their locale, right? And so we want to try to create like an area, like an in-class place where people can come and get like specialized teachers, like specialized consultants or whatever, people who know something really well, and they can come to it like a class. It'd be like a couple times a month. They'll come to it like a class and they'll learn like how to do exactly X. Or you can hire this freelancer guy here who's teaching this class and he can do it for you. So it's a win-win, and actually coming to the class would give you a discount on what that freelancer would normally charge to. So basically It's kind of like, a lot of local businesses do events now, like to kind of bring foot traffic to their place. Like they'll be like, hey, we're, like I think there's a place that sells home decor stuff. And they're, those like macrame baskets, like that, they're like, hey, we're doing a macrame class, right? You can come here and learn how to make a macrame plant hanger. Well, guess what? They also happen to sell macrame, or hangers, already done ones if you want them.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of thinking about like bringing that idea, but to the freelancers around here, at least here in Murray County. But I don't know. What do you think about that? Like, would you pay to go to a class to learn how to do something that you hadn't learned, or would you send an employee if you needed him or her to know it?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Sure. So cool.
I mean, maybe not that one, but a class, a theoretical class.
Not a macrame class.
No, I mean we've done similar things.
You guys have done workshops?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've both sort of hosted them, or been the instructor, I guess, and we've attended some as well.
Gotcha. Did you get a lot of value out of those, or?
Yeah. There's one coming up in Nashville that's like a screenwriting workshop that I went to in Austin, and then I'm helping out with it while it's here in Nashville. So that'll be with Robert McKee. He's kind of a guru. Oh,
okay.
And so that's pretty exciting for anyone who wants to learn how to write scripts.
Yeah, I imagine so. I mean, we have a mutual friend, Ryan, who kind of does sort of stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So, okay, one last thing, I guess, before we wrap it up, I want to know if there's anything that, on this journey, well, I guess I'll speak to myself a little bit more first, since I don't want to be. For myself, like, there's been, I started out in jobs I didn't like. I moved into jobs that I felt like I could be good at. Well, I moved into those jobs I felt like I could be good at. I started to learn what I liked about those jobs, and I started leaning more into those things. And there have been different, like, either points or moments where either I had a realization, maybe I read a book, or there was a certain thing that I started doing that really kind of changed things for me. Have you had anything like that for you that kind of really, you felt like kind of helped you move you more into a happier spot with your business?
I think for me, like, I'm kind of slow, like with this answer, how it's coming to you very slowly. I tend to overthink things, have a bit of decision regret, remorse type stuff. So I think for me, something that was helpful for when I finally sat down and looked at where I was in conjunction to where I wanted to be, and in relationship to where I felt like a lot of my competitors were, and realized that I was there. Like, the only thing now stopping me between what I wanted and where I was just kind of doing it. So I know that sounds kind of simple or whatever, but so basically for me it was making a feature film. So like at this point I've been working on TV shows, music videos, whatever, but it's like, man, I want to make a feature. So what's in between me and doing it? Because, for a long time it was just like, well, I don't know if I'm good enough. I don't have the confidence, or I need this particular gear, or I've got to have more training in this or whatever. And I realized and then I'd seen other people that were doing it, and I was just like, that's not, in my opinion, like the bar was like, I'm I could do this.
Yeah,
I could handle that. If this is being done, somehow they're getting it made. What's between? So from that point, I realized the things that were in between me and it, which was like one, having a good script. And so I actively just started reaching out to writers and then it just sort of all fell into place. And within probably a year, I was working on my first feature. So
wow.
I know that seems a bit simple, I suppose, but it was just a moment of just like having confidence to look at yourself and where you are and say, quit being a baby about this. And
I mean, would you agree that like there is, if you deal with that, which I know exactly what you're talking about. I've been there like many times. Yeah. Would you agree that like there is at least going to be some moment in your life where you got to fake it until you make it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'd believe that wholeheartedly.
And I was horrible at that. Like
yeah.
I never,
I was too.
Like because well, yeah, I wasn't a fake it till you make it kind of person.
Yeah, I wasn't.
And so
I found it very hard to be disingenuous.
I was too too self-critical, and I was too so it's like I can't say that I'm at that level when I know I'm not.
Yeah.
Like I just couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Like,
but then you're just like, how do I know I'm not though? And
exactly.
then that's when once you ask yourself, how do I know I'm not at that level?
Yeah.
Or how do I know I'm not like one step away from that level?
Sure.
Then I think that's when you realize.
Yeah.
So, well, that's cool. It's cool to know that you had really that was for me too. That was probably one of my biggest moments was realizing that, getting over imposter syndrome, what they call it, and realizing that you're meant for much more, and that you can go do it. You just got to go take it, and you got to want it, and it's got to be, you have to want it from a genuine place.
Sure.
But awesome. Well, cool. Thank you so much for being on the show. Yeah. We could probably talk a lot.
Probably.
I'll probably have you on the show again at some point if you're cool with that.
Okay.
But yeah, so where can people find out more about you, your company, if they want to reach out to you? How can they do that?
That's a great question, Danny. Gabe McCauley, or Gabriel McCauley, is typically a name you can find in like Instagram, Facebook, all that kind of stuff.
How do you spell McCauley?
McCauley. Wonderful. Or IMDb. I think I'm on there as well.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you got to be.
I'm a film guy.
Yeah.
LilDragon.tv is currently the name of our company, and may continue to be. We may just have a branch of it.
Yeah.
And ReconnectingRoots.com.
That's right. Yeah. Tell us, can you give us a quick snapshot on Reconnecting Roots?
Yeah, so it's a TV show that we're working on. It's like a 30-minute docu-series about American progress, where we look at where we came from, where we are today, and have we lost anything along the way. So we explore, certain values that may have been present in a particular topic, such like farming or technology or whatever it is. So, and I'm the host of that, and then our company is the producers of that show, and we have 7 episodes completed, and we're working on more, and haven't found a home for it yet, but you can go to that website and eagerly await. So we're in talks with several different distribution companies, and so
cool. That's exciting. Definitely keep it there. You do have an Instagram, right? Isn't it Reconnecting Roots Instagram?
Yes, there's an Instagram for it as well. I think it's Reconnecting Roots TV.
Okay, cool. So yeah, everybody go on there, follow Reconnecting Roots, see what happens when they come out with their stuff. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, if you have any questions or you have something that you'd like to share with my audience and would like to be interviewed here in this awesome blue chair just like Gabe, you can give me an email, danny@dannycoleman.me. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter @IamDannyColeman. And as always, hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. See ya.
See ya.
Want more? Go to DannyColeman.me to download Danny's free small business hiring guide, which includes tips, templates, and tools, plus a step-by-step process you can use to find and keep high-quality employees for your small team or business.